Welcome back to Void of Fears. Before we jump into today's story, I've got to ask for a quick favour. If you could smash that like button, drop a comment below, and hit subscribe if you haven't already. It seriously makes a huge difference. YouTube's algorithm loves that stuff, and it pushes my videos to new viewers who might dig these stories too. I really appreciate every single one of you who takes the time to do that. It means the world to me and helps keep this channel growing. Alright, enough of me rambling. Let's dive into today's story. My name is Daniel Foster. I'm 38 years old, and for the last 9 months, I've been trying to find the right words to explain what happened to Earth. I've started this recording 100 times, deleted it, started over. But there are no right words for this. There's no way to make it make sense. So I'll just tell you what I saw, what we found, and let you draw your own conclusions. If anyone ever hears this. We left Earth on March 15th. 6 astronauts on a routine mining mission to asteroid Psyche 16. Commander Patricia Hayes, pilot Yuki Tanaka, engineer Devon Price, medical officer Dr. Amara Okafor, systems analyst Thomas Wright, and me. 8 months round trip. Extract mineral samples, analyze composition, prove we could sustain operations that far from home. We'd done it before. Humanity had done it dozens of times. It was supposed to be unremarkable. When we left, Earth had 7 billion people on it. When we came back, it had 6. The launch from Kennedy Space Center was perfect. Clear skies, light winds, optimal conditions. I remember standing in the crew transport van, looking out at the families gathered behind the barriers. Rachel was there with Emma and Noah, waving at me like I was going on a business trip instead of leaving the planet. Michael had Noah on his shoulders, so he could see better. Emma held a sign she'd made herself with glitter and markers. "Good luck, Uncle Danny. Bring back space rocks." I'd laughed and waved, never imagining it would be the last time I'd see them with my own eyes. The first stage separation was smooth. The second stage burn was textbook. We reached orbit 17 minutes after launch, and I remember the moment the engines cut and we went weightless. That moment of transition, when Earth's gravity lets go and you're truly in space. I felt it before on 2 previous missions, but it never got old. That sense of freedom, of possibility, of being somewhere humans weren't designed to be, and surviving anyway. The journey to Psyche 16 took 4 months. 4 months of living in close quarters with 5 other people, sleeping in pods barely bigger than coffins, eating rehydrated food, recycling our water and air. It sounds miserable when I describe it like that, but it wasn't. There's a camaraderie that develops on long missions. You become a family. You have to. There's nowhere to escape to, no way to avoid each other. You either learn to get along or the mission fails. Patricia was our rock. She'd been in space more than any of us. 4 previous missions, including a year-long stint on the International Space Station. Nothing rattled her. She had this calm competence that made you feel safe even when you were hurtling through the void in a metal can. Yuki was quiet but brilliant, the kind of pilot who could feel what the ship needed before the instruments told her. Devon never stopped talking, always had a joke or a story, kept spirits up when the monotony got to us. Dr. Okafor was our emotional center, always checking in, making sure nobody was struggling with the isolation. Thomas was the youngest at 29, sharp as hell, could hack into any system, solve any technical problem, and me, I was the rock guy, the geologist, the one who dreamed of touching an asteroid since I was 10 years old. We reached Psyche 16 in early July. The asteroid was magnificent. A metallic world tumbling through space roughly the size of Massachusetts, probably the exposed core of a planet that never finished forming. The sunlight reflected off its surface in strange ways, making it look almost liquid sometimes. We established orbit and began our survey work. The extraction went smoothly. We drilled core samples, analysed composition, confirmed it was mostly iron and nickel with traces of gold and platinum, worth trillions, Devon kept reminding us. We were orbiting a flying gold mine. The work was technical and tedious and absolutely fascinating. I'd spend hours analysing samples under the microscope, documenting crystal structures, arguing with Devon about formation theories. He thought Psyche was a protoplanet core that never accreted a mantle. I thought it might be a fragment from a larger body that broke apart. We'd debate it over dinner, both of us getting way too passionate about rocks that formed 4 billion years ago. Patricia would roll her eyes and tell us we were both wrong, just to keep the argument going. Every Sunday we had video calls home. The signal delay was about 20 minutes each way, so they weren't really conversations, more like sending video messages back and forth. But it was enough to feel connected to Earth, to remember there was a world beyond the ship. I'd record messages to Rachel and the kids. They'd send messages back. Emma would show me drawings she'd made. Noah would tell me about whatever dinosaur he was currently obsessed with. Rachel would update me on her life, her job at the hospital, Michael's projects around the house. The last message I got from them was July 30th. Rachel looked tired but happy. She told me Emma had lost her first tooth and was very excited about the tooth fairy. Noah had learned to ride his bike without training wheels and had immediately crashed into a bush, but he was fine, just scraped knees. Michael was trying to install new light fixtures and it was going about as well as his projects usually went. She missed me. The kids missed me. They were counting down the days until I got home. 62 days, she said. Just 62 more days and I'd be back. I never got to 62 days. August 2nd started like any other day. We were on mission day 140. The routine was well established by then. Wake at 6 a.m. ship time. Breakfast together in the common area. Work assignments for the day. I was scheduled to analyse a new set of core samples. Devon was running maintenance on the drilling equipment. Thomas was updating our orbital calculations. Patricia was reviewing our return trajectory options. Yuki was monitoring ship systems. Dr. Okafor was conducting her weekly health assessments. At 11:47 a.m, we were supposed to have our regular check-in with Houston, every 3 days, like clockwork. 10 minutes to confirm everything was nominal, review upcoming activities, check weather back home. Small talk to remind us we weren't completely alone out here. The call was scheduled. The comm system was ready. We gathered in the command module at 11:45 to wait for the connection. 11:47 came and went. No call. Patricia tried to initiate contact from our end. Nothing. She tried again at noon. No response. By 12:30, she was going through backup protocols, trying alternate frequencies, checking our equipment. Devon joined her, running diagnostics on the comm array. Everything showed green. Our systems were functioning perfectly. We just weren't getting any response from Earth. By 3 p.m, we'd tried everything, every frequency, every backup channel, every emergency protocol. Houston wasn't responding. Neither were the backup stations in Australia, Japan or Germany. The International Space Station wasn't responding. Every single point of contact we had with Earth was silent. Patricia called a meeting in the common area. We gathered around the small table, floating in microgravity, and she delivered the news we'd all already figured out. We've lost contact with Earth, all stations, all frequencies. I've exhausted every option I can think of. Either our communication system has failed in a way we can't detect, or something has happened groundside that's preventing them from responding. Devon immediately said, "Our systems are fine. I've checked everything twice. The problem isn't on our end." Thomas added, "Could be a massive solar event. Geomagnetic storm that knocked out communications globally. That could explain it." Patricia nodded slowly. "It's possible. We'll continue trying to establish contact. If we don't hear anything within 72 hours, we'll need to make a decision about whether to continue the mission or abort and return home early. Nobody argued with that. The mission could wait. If something was wrong on Earth, we needed to get back. August 3rd. Still no contact. Thomas spent the entire day cycling through frequencies, listening to static, hoping for any voice. Nothing. Dr. Okafor started checking on all of us more frequently. She could sense the tension building. We were trying to stay calm, stay professional, but we all had families down there. Friends, lives we'd left behind expecting to return to. August 4th, Patricia made the decision. We're going home. Devon, I need you to calculate our optimal return trajectory. Yuki, start preparing the engines for the burn sequence. We launch tomorrow at 8 a.m. ship time. Thomas, keep trying to establish contact. Even if we're heading back, I want to know what we're heading back to. That night, I couldn't sleep. I floated in my pod, looking at the photos stuck to the wall. Rachel's smile, Emma's gap-toothed grin, excited about being 7. Noah in his dinosaur shirt, the one he wore so often. Rachel had to buy 3 more. I tried to imagine reasonable explanations. A pandemic that shut everything down. Political crisis. Some kind of catastrophic event that required all hands on deck, and calling a mining ship millions of miles away wasn't a priority. None of the scenarios I imagined felt right. Nothing explained total silence from every station on Earth. August 5th, 8 a.m. We performed the burn sequence. The engines fired for 6 minutes, altering our trajectory, sending us on a path back toward Earth. The return journey would take 8 weeks. 8 weeks of not knowing. 8 weeks of hoping our families were okay. 8 weeks of listening to static and trying not to imagine the worst. Those 8 weeks were the longest of my life. We tried to maintain routine. Dr. Okafor was insistent about it. Meals together, exercise schedules, sleep cycles, work assignments to keep us busy. But underneath the routine, there was constant anxiety. We took turns monitoring the comm systems. Someone was always listening, always hoping to hear a voice breaking through the static. We never did. Thomas started showing signs of strain first. He'd stay up for 24-hour stretches, headphones on, monitoring every frequency. Dr. Okafor had to order him to sleep. Devon became quieter, spending more time alone, running calculations over and over. Yuki threw herself into ship maintenance, checking systems that didn't need checking. Patricia held steady, but I could see the cracks forming. She'd stare out the observation window at Earth growing slowly larger ahead of us, and her jaw would clench. I withdrew into my work. I wrote reports on the samples we'd collected, detailed analyses that nobody might ever read. It gave me something to focus on besides the growing dread in my chest. At night, I'd record messages to Rachel and the kids, even though I had no way to send them. Just talking to them, telling them about my day, pretending everything was normal. It helped. A little. 6 weeks into the return journey, we started to pick up automated signals from Earth. Satellite transmissions, weather monitoring stations, GPS signals, all the automated systems that run without human input. It should have been reassuring. It meant Earth's infrastructure was still functioning, but it also meant we still weren't hearing from any actual people, just machines broadcasting to no one. September 15th, 2 weeks from Earth. We could see it now with the naked eye through the observation window. A blue and white marble growing larger every day. Beautiful. Unchanged. Looking exactly as it had when we left. Thomas picked up more automated signals. Power grid telemetry, traffic management systems, banking networks, all running normally, but still no voices. Still no response to our constant hails. September 20th, 1 week out. Patricia gathered us for a briefing. We're going to prepare for the possibility that something catastrophic has happened. Environmental suits will be standard protocol until we know what we're dealing with. We'll land at Edwards. It has the facilities we need. and it's remote enough that if there's some kind of contamination, we'll have options. Everyone needs to be mentally prepared for what we might find. We all nodded. We'd been preparing for weeks, but you can't really prepare for the end of the world. You can't imagine it until you see it. September 28th, 6:23 AM. We entered Earth's orbit. I pressed my face against the observation window, studying the planet below. Sunrise was crossing the Atlantic, Europe and Africa coming into daylight. Everything looked normal. Coastlines, cloud patterns, no massive fires, no evidence of nuclear war, no signs of catastrophe visible from orbit. Thomas checked the nightside footage he'd been recording. "The lights are on," he said, and there was something strange in his voice. "Cities are lit up normally. Power grids are functioning." Patricia moved to look at his screen. She was quiet for a long moment. "Yuki, prepare for landing approach. Edwards Air Force Base. Manual descent. Full emergency protocol." Yuki's hands were already moving across the controls. "Confirmed. Beginning approach sequence." The descent took 45 minutes. 45 minutes of watching Earth grow larger, watching the west coast of North America come into view, watching the details resolve from abstract to specific. The Mojave Desert, the mountains, Edwards Air Force Base sprawling across the dry lake bed, and nothing moving. No air traffic, no vehicles, no signs of the activity that should have been visible at a major Air Force installation. Yuki brought us down perfectly. Manual landing, no ground control, just her skill and training. The wheels touched tarmac at 2:23 PM Pacific Time, September 29th, a Wednesday. The engine spooled down. The ship settled, and we sat in silence looking out at Edwards Air Force Base through the windows. Massive runways stretching away, hangars with open doors, buildings with lights on, and not a single person visible, not a single vehicle moving. Patricia's voice was steady. "Environmental suits, full protocol. Nobody opens that hatch until everyone is sealed and verified." We suited up in silence, 20 minutes of checking seals, testing air supplies, verifying communication systems. I'd done it hundreds of times in training. This time my hands were shaking. We lined up at the hatch, Patricia first, then Devon, then me, then Dr. Okafor, then Thomas, then Yuki. Patricia's hand was on the release mechanism. She looked back at us. "Whatever we find out there, we face it together. Everyone stays in visual contact. Nobody goes off alone. Understood?" We all confirmed. She opened the hatch. The air that rushed in smelled normal. Hot tarmac, jet fuel, desert dust. All the familiar smells of Edwards. But wrong. Too quiet. Patricia descended the ladder first. Her boots hit the tarmac. She stood there for a moment looking around, then waved us down. One by one, we emerged from the ship and stood on Earth for the first time in 8 months. The sun was bright. The sky was clear. The temperature was 72 degrees. Light wind from the west. Perfect conditions. And nothing was moving. A jeep sat 50 feet away in the middle of the runway. Driver's door open. Keys in the ignition. A clipboard on the passenger seat with paperwork still attached. But no driver. No explanation. Just an abandoned vehicle on an active runway at an Air Force base. Patricia's voice came through the SOAT radio. "Spread out. Teams of 2. Devon with me. Daniel with Dr. Okafor. Thomas with Yuki. Survey the immediate area. Look for anyone. Look for any sign of what happened. Stay in radio contact. Report anything unusual. And everyone stays alert." Devon and I headed for the nearest hangar. The doors were wide open, lights on inside. Our footsteps echoed in the vast empty space. Fighter jets in various states of maintenance. One up on jacks with panels removed. Tool carts positioned around it. A wrench on the ground next to the landing gear. We walked deeper into the hangar, checking the offices, the storage areas, the maintenance bays. Everything looked normal. mid-shift normal, like everyone had just stepped away for a moment. In the office, computer screens were still on, diagnostic programs running. A sandwich sat on the desk, half-eaten, covered in mould. A jacket hung on the back of a chair. Photos on the walls showed airmen with their families, smiling at the camera. A calendar on the wall had appointments marked through October, someone's birthday party on the 15th, equipment inspection on the 22nd, all appointments that would never be kept. Devon picked up a phone, listened. "There's a dial tone," he said. His voice through the radio sounded strange, too controlled. He dialed a number. I could hear it ringing through his helmet radio. It rang and rang and rang. No answer. He hung up. Tried another number. Same result. The phone system was working. Nobody was answering. We checked the ready room. Lockers standing open. Flight suits hanging up. Helmets on shelves. A magazine on a bench, open to page 37. A half-empty bottle of water on a table. Personal items everywhere. But no people. We spent an hour searching that hangar and found nothing but evidence of absence. People had been here, and then they weren't. We met back at the ship. Everyone had similar reports. Yuki and Thomas had checked the flight line. Planes parked in neat rows. Everything secured properly. But the offices were empty. Patricia and Dr. Okafor had checked the control tower, still broadcasting automated weather updates. Computers still running, but the controllers were gone. We stood in a circle, 6 astronauts in environmental suits, and nobody wanted to say what we were all thinking. Finally, Patricia made the decision. Suits off. If there's something in the air, we're already exposed. The ship's ventilation pulled in outside air during landing. If we're going to be affected, it's already too late. We need mobility, and we need to conserve suit air. She reached up and broke the seal on her helmet, took it off, breathed earth air. Nothing happened. She didn't collapse or start choking or show any signs of distress. One by one, we removed our helmets. The air smelled the same as through the filters. Hot, dry, normal. But the silence was overwhelming without the buffer of the helmet. No voices, no engines, no sounds of activity. Just wind and the distant creaking of metal in the heat. We stripped off the suits, stored them back in the ship, and regrouped. Patricia pulled out a physical map of the base. We need to do a thorough search, check every building, look for anyone. Look for any signs of what happened. We split into teams, we stay in radio contact, and we're back here before sunset. Questions? Thomas raised his hand slightly. What are we actually looking for? Patricia folded the map. Answers. Any kind of answers. Bodies, signs of struggle, evidence of evacuation. Anything that explains where everyone went, Devon asked. And if we don't find anything? Patricia's jaw was tight. Then, tomorrow we expand the search. We spent the rest of the afternoon going through Edwards Air Force Base systematically. The barracks had unmade beds, personal belongings scattered around, someone's boots by a footlocker, a book face down on a nightstand, family photos on bunks. In one room, a shower was still running. Had been running for months apparently, the water just draining away. Devon shut it off, and the sudden silence was worse than the sound had been. The commissary had food in the refrigerators and freezers. Some of it still fresh thanks to the power staying on, some of it spoiled, fresh fruit rotting in bins. Milk expired and congealed, but the frozen food was fine. The dry goods were fine, enough to feed hundreds of people for months, but no people to feed. In the administrative building, we found offices with computers logged in, emails in inboxes, documents open on screens. A printer had jammed and nobody had fixed it. Paper accordion folded out onto the floor. File cabinets standing open. Coffee cups on desks with dried residue at the bottom. It was like walking through a moment frozen in time. Everyone had just stopped what they were doing and left. We found a wall calendar in one of the offices. Someone had been marking off days with red X marks, crossing off each day as it passed. The last X was September 1st, 3 months ago. Thomas took a photo of it with his phone. "Whatever happened, it happened on September 1st, he said quietly. Patricia asked, "What's the last entry in the logbooks?" We checked. Every log we could find, every duty roster, every sign-in sheet. Last entries were all September 1st. Most of them morning entries. 6 a.m. shift change, 7:30 a.m. flight prep, 8 a.m. maintenance schedule, then nothing. We were in the base command center when Thomas found the security system. He spent 20 minutes accessing it, pulling up the archive footage. "I can go back months," he said. "The system's been recording automatically this whole time." Patricia pulled up a chair. "Show me September 1st, start at midnight and fast forward." We gathered around the screens, watching grainy security footage play at high speed. Midnight through early morning. Minimal activity. A few personnel on night shift walking through corridors, checking equipment. Normal base operations. 5 a.m. More activity. Day shift arriving, people moving with purpose, everything routine. 6 a.m. Shift change, more personnel. The base coming to life. 7 a.m. Busier now. Cafeteria filling up. Work details heading out. Still normal. 8 a.m. Peak activity. The base at full operation. Then 8:17 a.m. Everyone stops. Thomas slowed it down to real time. We watched a mechanic in a hangar, working on an engine with a wrench in his hand. At exactly 8:17 a.m, he stops moving, just freezes. The wrench stays in his hand. He stands there completely still for 43 seconds. Then, very deliberately, he puts the wrench down, straightens up, and walks out of the hangar. Not running, not panicked, just walking. He disappears off screen and doesn't come back. "Check other cameras," Patricia said, her voice tight. "Same timestamp." Thomas pulled up multiple feeds. Mess hall, barracks, control tower, flight line, administrative offices. Every camera showed the same thing, 8:17 a.m. People stop what they're doing, stand still for anywhere from a few seconds to a few minutes. Then they leave. Some walk slowly, some walk quickly, but they all leave. By 9 a.m, the base is noticeably emptier. By 10 a.m, it's nearly deserted. By 11:30 a.m, every camera shows empty corridors, empty rooms, empty spaces. After that, nothing. September 1st through September 29th, the footage showed automated lights turning on and off, doors moving in the wind, birds occasionally flying through, but no people, not a single person. We watched the footage in silence. Dr. Okafor was the first to speak. "They weren't scared. Look at them. No panic. No running. They just stopped and left." Devon leaned closer to the screen. "What could make people do that, all of them, simultaneously?" Thomas was already typing. "I'm checking other cameras, other locations on the base." He pulled up feed after feed. Security gate, same thing. Motor pool, same thing. Medical facility, same thing. 8:17 a.m, everyone stops, everyone leaves. Patricia stood up. "We need more information. Thomas, can you access traffic cameras? City systems? Anything outside the base?" Thomas nodded, already working. "Give me an hour. I can pull feeds from Lancaster, Palmdale, Los Angeles, if the systems are still up." Patricia looked at her watch. "It's 4:30. We have maybe 2 hours of daylight left. Everyone back to the ship. We regroup. We eat. We review what we know. Tomorrow we expand the search." Walking back to the ship, I kept looking around at the empty base, trying to imagine what could have happened. Some kind of gas, but there were no bodies. Disease? But people don't just walk away when they're sick. Mass evacuation. But where did they go? And why was everything left behind? Keys in vehicles, doors unlocked, computers running. If people were evacuating, they'd have taken things. They'd have shut things down. That night, we gathered in the ship's common area. We'd brought food from the base commissary, frozen pizzas that we heated up. It felt surreal, eating dinner in our spacecraft parked on an empty runway. Patricia spread the map out on the table. Tomorrow we take vehicles and expand the search. Los Angeles is 90 miles west, major population center. If there are survivors anywhere, a city that size is a logical place to find them. We take 2 vehicles, we stay in radio contact, we investigate, and we come back before dark. Agreed? Everyone nodded. But none of us slept well that night. I lay in my pod, listening to the bass outside. Wind in the structures, metal expanding and contracting in the cooling air. Somewhere a door was banging, over and over. Normal night sounds. But underneath that terrible absence, no voices, no engines, no sounds of human activity, just emptiness. I kept thinking about the security footage, those 43 seconds the mechanic had stood still. What was happening in his head during that time? What was he experiencing? And then the decision to leave. Where did he think he was going? Did he know? Did any of them know? Or were they just compelled, driven by something they couldn't resist? Morning came slowly. We were up at dawn, eating breakfast in silence, checking supplies, preparing for the drive to Los Angeles. We took 2 Jeeps from the motor pool. Keys were hanging on labelled hooks in the office, Jeep 7 and Jeep 12. We loaded water, food, portable radios, first aid kits, everything we might need. Patricia and Yuki in the lead vehicle, Devon, Thomas and Dr. Okafor in the second vehicle. I was driving the lead Jeep with Patricia navigating. We left Edwards at 7:15 a.m. October 1st. The drive through the Mojave was worse than the empty base. At least the base felt contained. This was open country, and seeing it empty felt wrong on a fundamental level. The highway should have had traffic, early morning commuters, long-haul truckers, someone. Instead, there were just abandoned cars. Some pulled over neatly on the shoulder like the drivers had been considerate enough to get out of the way. Others stopped in the middle of lanes, doors hanging open. We had to slow down frequently to weave between them. Each abandoned car was its own mystery. A sedan stopped in the fast lane, driver's door open, keys still in the ignition. An SUV pulled onto the shoulder. 4 doors open, luggage in the back like a family had been on a road trip. A pickup truck stopped perfectly tight in a parking spot at a rest area, the driver's coffee cup still in the holder. I pulled over at one point to check a car that had its hazard lights still flashing. The battery must have been nearly dead after 3 months, but they were still weakly blinking. Inside, a purse on the passenger seat, phone in the cup holder, registration in the glove compartment. Lisa Chen, address in Lancaster. I wondered if she'd made it home before it happened, or if she'd walked away from her car here on Highway 58 and just kept walking until she reached wherever everyone had gone. "Daniel, we need to keep moving," Patricia said quietly. I got back in the Jeep and we continued west. Devon was driving behind us. I could hear him on the radio occasionally, calling out things he saw. Another car stopped here. Looks like they were changing a tyre. Rest area up ahead, parking lot full of vehicles, nobody around. There's a truck jackknifed across both lanes. We'll need to go around. The worst part was the animals, or the lack of them. Devon had been right at the base. No birds in the sky, no lizards on the rocks, no roadkill on the highway, nothing. The desert should have been full of life. Coyotes, rabbits, snakes, lizards, birds, insects. Instead, it was dead. Not dead exactly. The plants were still there, Joshua trees and creosote bushes and all the vegetation. But nothing was moving, no ants crawling, no birds flying, no sign of animal life at all. "It's not just people," Dr. Okafor said over the radio. "Whatever happened, it took the animals too." Thomas replied, "That doesn't make sense. What kind of phenomenon affects humans and animals, but not plants?" Nobody had an answer. We reached the outskirts of Los Angeles around noon. The transition from desert to city was jarring. Suddenly there were buildings, houses, shopping centres, all the infrastructure of human civilization, and all of it empty. We took the 14 South into the city. Traffic lights were still working, dutifully changing red to green to yellow for no one. Cars were stopped at intersections, waiting for lights that had changed thousands of times since their drivers left. Patricia directed me towards downtown. If there are survivors, they'd likely congregate in a major area, somewhere visible, somewhere with resources. We drove through neighborhoods that looked frozen in time. Houses with lawns getting overgrown, newspapers piled on driveways, mail overflowing from mailboxes. Some houses had doors standing open, others were closed up tight. I wondered if it mattered, if the people inside had closed their doors before they left, or if they just walked out and left everything behind. We reached downtown Los Angeles around 1:30 p.m. The city was surreal. Skyscrapers rising above us, glass and steel reflecting the sun, and nothing moving, no cars, no people, no sounds except our engines and the wind. We parked on Figueroa Street, right in the middle of the road. There was no reason not to. Patricia shut off the engine, and we all got out. The other Jeep pulled up behind us and the rest of the team joined us. We stood in the middle of Figueroa Street in downtown Los Angeles, and the silence was crushing. In a city of nearly 4 million people, there should be sound. Traffic, construction, voices, music, the ambient noise of human civilization. Instead, there was wind. Just wind whistling through empty streets and the distant hum of electrical systems powering buildings nobody was using. "Spread out," Patricia said. "Same protocol as yesterday. Teams of 2. Look for anyone. Look for signs of what happened. Stay in radio contact. Back here in 2 hours." We split up. Thomas and I headed toward a shopping plaza half a block away. The doors to a grocery store were standing open. We went inside and the smell hit us immediately. Rotting produce, spoiled meat. The refrigeration units were still running, humming away, but 3 months was too long. The produce section was a disaster. Fruits and vegetables liquefied in their bins. The smell was overwhelming, but other sections of the store looked almost normal. Dry goods on shelves, canned food, boxed pasta, cereal, all undisturbed. A shopping cart sat abandoned in aisle 3. We walked over to it, half full. Milk, bread, cereal, yogurt, bananas, a package of chicken. Someone had been shopping for what looked like breakfast and lunch items. They'd never finished, never checked out. The cart sat there for 3 months, the perishables rotting, the non-perishables waiting. Thomas found a cell phone on a bench outside the store, dead battery. He pulled out a portable charger from his pack and plugged it in. We waited. The phone came to life, showing 15% battery. Lock screen displayed, September 1st, 8:16 a.m. Thomas tried to access it, but it was password protected. He went into the emergency call function, checked recent calls. Last call was to Mom at 7:47 a.m. on September 1st, 30-minute call, then nothing. We checked the text messages without unlocking the phone by looking at the notification preview. Last message was half written. "Hey Mum, heading to the store. Need anything?" The cursor was still blinking after the question mark, waiting for words that never came. The timestamp showed 8:16 a.m., September 1st. 1 minute before whatever happened. Over the radio, Devon's voice crackled. You need to see this, 2 blocks south of your location, big office building. We headed south and found Devon and Yuki standing in the lobby of a 40-story glass tower. The lobby was pristine, marble floors, escalators still running, building directory by the elevator bank listing dozens of companies, insurance firm on floors 12, 15, law offices on 20, 25, tech company on 30, 35, all the normal businesses of city life. Security footage, Devon said, pointing to a room behind the reception desk. It's all still recording. We crowded into the small security office, multiple screens showing different floors, different angles. Devon scrubbed back to September 1st. Same story as Edward's. Normal morning. People arriving for work. Elevators going up and down. Coffee being made in break rooms. Meetings starting in conference rooms. Then, 8:17 a.m. local time. Everyone stops. The footage showed office workers at their desks, suddenly freezing, standing still. Then, one by one, they got up and left. Out of their offices, into the elevators, out the front door. By 9:30 a.m. the building was empty. Patricia's voice came over the radio. We found the same thing in City Hall. Security footage shows the same pattern. 8:17 a.m. everyone stops and leaves. We need to go higher, get a view of the whole city. We regrouped and picked this building, 40 stories. Patricia wanted to see Los Angeles from above. We found the stairs and started climbing. Nobody suggested the elevator. It felt like too much trust to put in automated systems in an empty building. The climb was brutal. We were all breathing hard by floor 10. Our 8 months in low gravity had weakened us more than we'd realized. We had to stop every few floors to rest. By floor 20, my legs were shaking. By floor 30, I thought I might pass out. But we kept going. Finally, we reached floor 40. The top floor was an open office layout, cubicles stretching away in neat rows, windows on all sides offering panoramic views of Los Angeles. We walked through the space slowly, computers still on, logged in, files open. Someone had been working on a spreadsheet, numbers half entered. Another desk had an email client open, message half written. Dear Mr. Chen, thank you for your inquiry regarding... Never finished, never sent. Family photos everywhere. Desk toys, coffee mugs, stress balls, calendars with appointments marked. Dentist 2 p.m. September 3rd. Team meeting September 5th. Emma's soccer game September 7th. All appointments that would never be kept. We found a conference room with a projector still running. The battery backup must have kept it going. The screen showed slide 12 of a presentation titled Q3 Marketing Strategy, Expanding Our Reach. Chairs pushed back from the table. A box of donuts in the center, now stale and hard. Water bottles, notepads with notes scrawled on them. Someone had written, increase social media budget by 20%, and underlined it twice. Important enough to underline twice. Not important enough to matter anymore. We went to the roof access door. It was unlocked, probably a fire code violation. We pushed through and emerged onto the roof. The 6 of us stood at the edge and looked out over Los Angeles. The view was incredible and horrifying. Miles and miles of city spreading out in every direction. Downtown's cluster of skyscrapers around us. Hollywood to the northwest. Santa Monica and the ocean to the west. The sprawl of the San Fernando Valley to the north. All of it clearly visible in the afternoon sun. And all of it empty. From up here you could see the cars stopped on the highways. Tiny from this height, but visible. Hundreds of them, thousands, just stopped. Traffic lights were changing colours at intersections, red to green to yellow, performing their function for no one. Some buildings had lights on in the windows, others were dark, but nowhere, in any direction, was there any sign of movement. No cars driving, no people walking, No indication that this city of 4 million people was inhabited anymore. "It's all still running," Thomas said quietly. He was looking at the downtown area, at the buildings with their lights on. Power grid's operational, water systems are functioning, traffic management, building systems, everything. "It's all still working," Devon nodded slowly. "Most urban infrastructure is heavily automated now, designed to run with minimal human oversight. It'll keep going for a while, but not forever. Eventually things will fail. Transformers will blow, pipes will burst, systems will cascade into failure. I'd estimate we've got maybe a year before major failures start, 5 years before it's mostly collapsed." Dr. Okafor was looking west, towards Santa Monica. 4 million people lived here. 4 million people woke up on September 1st, went about their morning routines, and then just left. Where did they go? How did they all know to go at the same time? Patricia checked her watch. "We're not going to find answers standing here. It's 3:30. We need to start heading back if we want to reach Edwards before dark." Yuki asked, "We're not staying to search more?" Patricia shook her head. "Search for what? We've seen enough. This is the same as Edwards, same as everywhere we've checked. Everyone left on September 1st, at 8:17 in the morning. We're not going to find anyone here." The drive back to Edwards was quiet. We were all processing what we'd seen. A major city, completely abandoned, still functioning like a machine running without an operator. I kept thinking about that half-written text message. "Hey Mum, heading to the store. Need anything?" Such a normal thing, such an everyday message. And 30 seconds later, the person writing it had stopped, stood still, and walked away from their life forever. We reached Edwards as the sun was setting. The base looked the same as we'd left it. Our ship still sitting on the runway, the only thing that looked out of place in the orderly military facility. We parked the jeeps and went back to the ship. Nobody felt like staying in the base buildings overnight. The ship felt safer, more familiar. It was ours. Patricia called a meeting after dinner. We gathered in the common area and she laid out what we knew. September 1st, 8:17 a.m. Pacific time. Something happened that affected everyone. They stopped what they were doing, stood still for a period of time, then left. No signs of panic, no signs of struggle. They just left. We've confirmed this at Edwards and in Los Angeles. Tomorrow we need to check on our families. All of us. We need to know if this is truly global or if there are pockets of survivors somewhere. We split up, we check our home locations, and we regroup back here in 3 days. Objections? Dr. Okafor raised her hand slightly. Is it safe to split up? We don't know what caused this. What if it's still active? Patricia considered that. We've been on Earth for 2 days. If it was environmental, we'd be affected by now. Whatever this was, it happened 3 months ago. I think the danger has passed, but everyone stays in constant radio contact. Check in every 6 hours minimum. If anyone doesn't check in, the rest of us converge on their last known location. Agreed? Everyone nodded. That night I lay in my pod and thought about tomorrow. I'd be going to Pasadena. To Rachel's house, I'd be seeing whether my sister and her family had suffered the same fate as everyone else. Part of me wanted to find them gone. Wanted confirmation that whatever happened had taken everyone equally. That Rachel and Emma and Noah and Michael hadn't suffered anything worse. Another part of me hoped desperately to find them there. Alive, waiting, able to explain what had happened. But I knew that second hope was futile. If they'd been there, if anyone had been there, they would have tried to contact us. The silence told the story. Morning came too early, October 2nd. We gathered outside the ship at dawn. Patricia had assigned us destinations and time frames. She was taking a plane from Edwards to Houston to Mission Control. She needed to see it for herself, needed to understand what had happened at NASA. Yuki was flying to San Francisco to check on her family. Dr. Okafor was taking a plane to Chicago for her brother. Devon was taking one of the jeeps to Austin for his parents. Thomas was flying to Seattle for his girlfriend. And I was taking the other jeep to Pasadena for Rachel. We said our goodbyes quietly. 3 days, Patricia reminded us. Back here by October 5th at noon. Everyone check in every 6 hours. Don't take unnecessary risks. If you find anything unusual, anything at all, you call it in immediately. We dispersed to our vehicles. I got into Jeep 7, started the engine, and headed west toward Pasadena. The drive took about 2 hours. I took surface streets through Lancaster and Palmdale, then picked up the 14 south. The abandoned cars were easier to navigate now that I had practice. I'd gotten good at spotting gaps, finding paths through the stopped traffic. The freeway was worse than the highway had been yesterday. More cars, more evidence of lives interrupted. A minivan with kids' toys visible in the back. A sports car with the top down. A moving truck, half full of furniture, all abandoned. I reached Pasadena around 10 a.m. Rachel's neighborhood was in the hills. Quiet streets with nice houses. Upper middle class. Good schools. Safe. All the things she and Michael had wanted for Emma and Noah. I drove slowly through the streets, looking at the houses. Lawns getting overgrown, but not completely wild yet. Newspapers on driveways, yellowing in the sun. September 2nd, 3rd, 4th, piling up. Mail overflowing from mailboxes. Rachel's house was a Craftsman on Marengo Avenue. Cream-coloured with brown trim. A porch swing Michael had installed when they first moved in. A small front yard with a Japanese maple tree. I'd been here for Thanksgiving last year, for Christmas morning, for Emma's birthday party in June, for a dozen Sunday dinners. I knew this house. I knew the sound of the screen door, the creak of the floorboards in the hallway, the way sunlight came through the kitchen window in the afternoon. I parked in the driveway, sat there for 5 minutes gathering courage. Then I got out and walked to the front door. It was unlocked. Of course it was unlocked. Why would they have locked it? They hadn't known they weren't coming back. I pushed it open and stepped inside. "Rachel," I called out. My voice echoed through the empty house. "Rachel, it's Daniel. Are you here? Emma? Noah?" Nothing. Just my voice bouncing back at me from empty rooms. The living room looked lived in. Toys scattered on the floor. Legos and dolls and toy cars and plastic dinosaurs. A board game set up on the coffee table. Candyland. The pieces were scattered around the board like someone had been mid-turn. Emma's purple gingerbread man was on the blue square near Gummy Pass. Noah's green gingerbread man was back at the start. They'd been playing. One of them had been winning. The game would never be finished. The TV was on, showing a blue screen with no signal displayed. It had probably been on since September 1st, running continuously for a month. The TV, the refrigerator, the clocks, all of it still powered, still running, waiting for people who would never return. I turned off the TV. The sudden silence felt heavier than the quiet hum had been. I walked through the house slowly, documenting everything with my phone. Taking photos I wasn't sure anyone would ever see. The kitchen had dishes in the sink, not many. A bowl with dried cereal residue, a coffee mug, a small plate with toast crumbs. Someone had eaten breakfast. Rachel, probably. She was always the first one up. The newspaper was on the table, September 1st. The headline was about something political, some controversy I couldn't care about anymore. The crossword was half finished. Rachel did the crossword every morning with her coffee. I opened the refrigerator. The smell hit me immediately. Spoiled milk, rotted vegetables. The power had stayed on, but 3 months was too long. I closed it quickly, opened the freezer instead. Frozen food still frozen. dinosaur-shaped chicken nuggets, ice cream, popsicles, all the foods kids love. Noah's favourites. I closed the freezer and stood there in Rachel's kitchen, in the house where I'd shared so many meals, and felt the weight of it all pressing down on me. Upstairs, Emma's room was exactly how a 7-year-old would leave it. Bed unmade, stuffed animals piled on her pillow, drawings taped to the walls, horses and unicorns and rainbows. One drawing showed our whole family, stick figures holding hands, labels above each one: Mummy, Daddy, Emma, Noah, Uncle Danny. We were all there, all connected, all smiling. That drawing was going to make me cry if I looked at it too long. Her backpack sat by the door, packed and ready. I opened it. New notebooks with blank pages, a pencil case with freshly sharpened pencils, a pink eraser shaped like a cat, a folder labelled 3rd grade. September 1st should have been her first day of school. She'd been so excited. She picked out her first day outfit a week early. It was laid out on her chair, purple shirt with a unicorn, new jeans, tags still attached, the sneakers that lit up when you walked, still in their box, all waiting for a little girl who would never wear them. I picked up one of her stuffed animals, a worn bunny she'd had since she was a baby. It still smelled like her, that indefinable kid smell of soap and grass and something sweet. I held it and felt something break inside my chest. Emma had been 7 years old. She'd loved horses and drawing and mac and cheese. She'd wanted to be an astronaut like her uncle. She'd lost her first tooth and been so proud. And then one morning, she'd stopped existing. Not died, just stopped. Walked away from her life and her toys and her drawings and her first day of 3rd grade and disappeared into nothing. Noah's room was exactly what you'd expect from a 5-year-old. Complete chaos. Toys everywhere. Dinosaurs primarily. Plastic dinosaurs. Stuffed dinosaurs. Dinosaur books. Dinosaur posters. Dinosaur sheets on the bed. He'd been obsessed. Could name every species. Could tell you which period each one lived in. Could make all the dinosaur sounds. His favourite stuffed animal was on the bed. A battered green T-Rex he'd named Chompy. He couldn't sleep without Chompy. I picked it up, and it still smelled like Noah. Rachel and Michael's room was at the end of the hall. I stood in the doorway for a long time before I could make myself go in. The bed was unmade. Sheets tangled like they'd just gotten up. Rachel's side, Michael's side, both clearly defined. Rachel's book on her nightstand. A romance novel bookmarked 3/4 through. She'd never know how it ended. Michael's book on his nightstand. A thriller about submarines. Page folded to mark his place. He'd never know either. Clothes were laid out on the chair by the window. Rachel's scrubs. She'd been scheduled to work that day. Had probably been planning to shower and change and head to the hospital. Her phone was on the nightstand. Dead battery. I plugged it into the charger and waited for it to come on. When it did, I saw dozens of notifications. Missed calls from the hospital. Text messages from her co-workers asking where she was. Worried messages from friends. All from September 1st and the days after. Then they'd stopped. Once everyone realised no one was answering. I checked her last messages. One to Michael at 8:03 a.m. Don't forget to drop Emma's lunch at school if she forgets it again. One to a friend at 8:10 a.m. Coffee Tuesday. One to me at 8:15 a.m. Hope you're doing well up there. The kids miss you. We all do. See you in October. I'd never gotten that message. We'd already lost communications by then. But she'd sent it 2 minutes before whatever happened happened. 2 minutes before she'd stopped being Rachel and become something else. I sat on their bed and tried to process it. My sister was gone. Her husband was gone. Her children were gone, not dead. I didn't see bodies. Didn't see signs of violence or struggle or suffering. They just left, walked out of their house on a Tuesday morning, and didn't come back. Where did they go? What had called them? Had they known what was happening? Had they been scared? Or had it been peaceful? I didn't know. I'd never know. I took Noah's dinosaur, Chompy, and I took the family photo from Rachel's dresser. All 4 of them at the beach last summer. Rachel laughing at something. Michael with Noah on his shoulders. Emma building a sandcastle. Happy. Alive. Together. I put the photo in my pocket, held Chompy under my arm, and walked out of that house for the last time. I sat in the Jeep in the driveway for 20 minutes, just breathing, trying to accept what I'd found, trying to understand that Rachel was really gone, that I'd never have Sunday dinner at this house again, never watch Emma and Noah open presents at Christmas, never argue with Michael about football, never hear Rachel tell me I worked too much and needed to find someone. All of that was gone, not ended, just gone, like it had never existed except in my memory. I radioed in at noon. Daniel checking in, Pasadena. No survivors found. Evidence suggests family followed the same pattern as everyone else. September 1st departure. Patricia's voice came back. Confirmed, Daniel. I'm at mission control. Same story here. September 1st, everyone walked out. Last log entry was 8:15 a.m. I'm heading back to Edwards now. One by one, the others checked in over the next hour. Yuki in San Francisco, Devon in Austin, Thomas in Seattle, Dr. Okafor in Chicago. All the same story. Everyone gone. September 1st, 8:17 a.m. adjusted for local time zones. I drove back to Edwards in a daze, barely paying attention to the abandoned cars, the empty streets. My mind was full of memories. Rachel teaching me to ride a bike when we were kids. Rachel at her high school graduation. Rachel's wedding. Emma being born. Noah being born. Sunday dinners and Christmas mornings and ordinary Tuesday afternoons. All of it gone now. Just ghosts in my head. I reached Edwards at 3 p.m. Patricia was already back, sitting outside the ship, staring at nothing. I parked the Jeep and walked over, sat down beside her. She didn't say anything. Neither did I. We just sat there together, 2 people who'd lost everything, watching the sun move across the sky. The others trickled in over the next few hours. Yuki at 4:30, Dr. Okafor at 5:15, Devon at 6 o'clock, Thomas at 7 o'clock, each of them with the same defeated expression, each of them having found the same thing: empty houses, abandoned lives, families gone. We gathered in the ship's common area that night. Nobody felt like talking, but Patricia insisted we needed to debrief. Everyone found the same thing, she asked. We all confirmed. Then we need to accept what we know. This wasn't localized. This was global. September 1st, 8:17 a.m. Pacific time. Everyone on Earth stopped what they were doing and left. Everyone except us, because we were off-world. The question is, what do we do now? Thomas spoke up first. We need to understand what happened. I've been thinking about this, the precision of the timing, the global synchronization, the lack of any physical trace. This wasn't natural. This wasn't a disaster or a catastrophe. This was something else. Devon nodded. Something that could affect 7 billion people simultaneously, but left us untouched because we were beyond Earth's atmosphere. What does that tell us? Dr. Okafor said quietly. It tells us the phenomenon was limited to Earth, or to Earth's magnetic field maybe, or something about being on the planet itself versus being in space. Patricia leaned forward. We need more information. Thomas, you said you found security footage in Los Angeles. Can you access more? Can we get footage from around the world? Thomas nodded. I can try. Most security systems are networked now. If they're still online, I can access them. Give me a few days, and I can probably pull footage from major cities globally. Patricia looked at each of us. Then that's our next step. We gather information, we try to understand what happened, and then we decide what to do with that information. Over the next 2 weeks, Thomas worked obsessively. He set up a workstation in the command center at Edwards, surrounded by screens showing security footage from around the world. He'd hacked into city systems, building systems, traffic cameras, any system that was still online, and had archived footage. The rest of us helped when we could, but mostly we tried to keep busy. Devon continued surveying infrastructure, learning the systems, making sure we'd have power and water for the foreseeable future. Dr. Rockefeller monitored our mental health, kept us on schedule, made sure we were eating and sleeping. Yuki and Patricia inventoried supplies, planned logistics, prepared for whatever came next. I tried to make sense of the geological and astronomical factors, looking for any correlation between Earth's position or solar activity and the event. I found nothing. October 15th, Thomas called us all together. He'd been up for 30 hours straight and looked like hell, but his eyes were bright with something like triumph. I've got footage from 63 major cities across every continent. I've synchronized them all to account for time zones. Watch. He pulled up a composite display. 63 screens, each showing a different city. New York, London, Tokyo, Moscow, Sydney, Sao Paulo, Cairo, Mumbai, Toronto, Mexico City, Beijing, Paris, Los Angeles, Chicago, Houston, and on and on. All of them showing 8:17 AM local time on September 1st. Watch closely, Thomas said. He played the footage. We watched people in 63 cities on 6 continents all stop simultaneously. The synchronization was perfect. Within milliseconds, 7 billion people had paused in their activities. Some stood still for seconds, some for minutes. Then they left. Streets emptied, buildings cleared. Within hours, every city on Earth was deserted. Thomas let the footage run until noon on September 1st. Every single screen showed empty streets, empty buildings, empty cities. It was precise, Thomas said, not approximate, not within a few seconds, exact. Something affected every human on Earth at exactly the same moment. And I mean every human. I've checked footage from remote locations. Research stations in Antarctica, villages in the Amazon, nomadic herders in Mongolia, oil platforms in the middle of the ocean, everywhere, everyone, all at the exact same moment. What about animals? Devon asked. Thomas pulled up different footage. Watch this. A zoo in Seattle, 8:17 AM. The people stop and leave. But 30 seconds later, the animals do too. A zookeeper had been feeding elephants. He stopped, stood still, walked away. The elephants finished the food. Then they walked away too. Out of their enclosure, through the zoo, and off camera. I've checked multiple locations. Animals left approximately 30 seconds after humans. Maybe because they were further from the source. Maybe because the effect took longer to reach them. I don't know. But they left too. Dr. Rockefeller leaned closer to the screens. So, not just humans, all animal life, but not plants. Thomas nodded. Right, only fauna, not flora. And I can't find any insects either. I've checked footage with good resolution. No insects visible after 8:17. Not even flies or ants. Yuki asked. How is that possible? What kind of phenomenon is that selective? Nobody had an answer. Patricia had been quiet, studying the screens. Thomas, can you check something for me? Check the International Space Station. They had a crew up there when this happened. 3 astronauts, I think. Are they still there? Thomas looked surprised. He hadn't thought of that. He pulled up NASA's tracking systems. ISS is still in orbit, still transmitting telemetry. Life support is offline. Give me a minute. He worked quietly, accessing systems, pulling in data. Finally, he looked up. The crew evacuated on September 5th, emergency departure in the Soyuz capsule. They must have been trying to get home after communications failed. The capsule landed in Kazakhstan on schedule. I've got the landing coordinates. Patricia asked, "Can you access footage from the landing site?" Thomas worked for another 10 minutes. "Okay, this is from a weather monitoring station, about 5 miles from the landing site. September 5th, 2 p.m. local time. Watch." The footage was grainy and distant. We watched a small capsule descend under parachutes and land in an empty field. The capsule sat there for 20 minutes. Then, barely visible at this distance, 3 figures emerged. They stood by the capsule for a few minutes, moving slowly, like they were injured or disoriented. Then they walked away, just walked off into the distance and didn't come back. "They made it down," Devon said slowly. "Made it through re-entry, landed safely. Then whatever got everyone else got them too." Patricia's face was grim. "So, it's not about being in space. It's about the specific moment. We were far enough away on September 1st that we weren't affected. But once they landed, once they were back on Earth, they were vulnerable." Thomas added, "Which suggests the phenomenon was still active on September 5th. Maybe it's still active now. Maybe the only reason we're okay is because we weren't here when it started." That thought chilled all of us. Dr. Okafor voiced what we were all thinking. So, if we'd come back one day earlier, if we'd been in orbit on September 1st, we would have been affected too. Patricia nodded. "Seems that way. Whatever this is, it's Earth-specific. And it's still here, still active, still broadcasting." She looked at Thomas. "You said you found something else, something about signals." Thomas pulled up a new display. Audio waveforms, frequency analyses, signal mapping. Since September 1st, there's been a continuous broadcast from multiple locations on Earth. I first picked it up during our return journey, but it's much clearer now. It's not radio exactly. It's something else. Some kind of electromagnetic signal that doesn't match any known transmission protocol. I can't decode it. I've tried every cipher, every language, every possible interpretation, but it's there, broadcasting from major population centers. New York, London, Beijing, Sao Paulo, Cairo, exactly where the highest population densities were. He played the signal for us. It sounded like static at first, but underneath there was a rhythm, regular, repeating, almost like a heartbeat. Not quite music, not quite speech, just a pulse, steady and eternal. "What is it?" Yuki asked. Thomas shook his head. "I don't know. But it's been broadcasting continuously for 6 weeks. No variation, no change, just this signal over and over." Patricia asked, "Could it be related to what happened? Could this signal be what called everyone away?" "Maybe," Thomas said. "The timing suggests it. The signal started at 8:17 a.m. on September 1st. Same moment everyone stopped. But I can't prove causation. For all I know, the signal is a byproduct. Or a message, or something we're not equipped to understand." Devon asked, "Can you triangulate the source? Find out exactly where it's coming from?" Thomas had tried. "I can narrow it to city blocks in most locations, but not specific buildings. The signal seems to be coming from everywhere and nowhere at once. Diffuse, like the whole city is broadcasting." We sat there listening to the signal. That rhythmic pulse, that heartbeat from an empty world. It was hypnotic in a way that made me uncomfortable. Dr. Okafor noticed me shifting. "Daniel, what is it?" I realized I'd been staring at nothing, losing track of time. Nothing, just tired. But I wasn't sure that was true. Something about the signal pulled at me, made me want to keep listening, made me want to understand what it was saying. I shook my head to clear it. "Thomas, turn it off." He did, and the sudden silence was jarring. Patricia stood up. "We need to be careful. If this signal is related to what happened, if it's still active, We need to minimize our exposure. Thomas, I want you to limit your listening time, no more than an hour a day. Everyone else, stay away from it entirely, until we understand what it is. Thomas started to argue, but Patricia cut him off. That's an order, but we can't risk losing anyone else. Not when we're all that's left. December 15th. We'd been back on Earth for 2.5 months. We'd settled into a routine at Edwards. Devon had gotten most of the base systems under control. Power, water, food supplies. We were sustainable here for years if needed. Dr. Okafor had converted one of the conference rooms into a gym, insisted we all maintain physical fitness. Patricia kept us on schedule, gave us assignments, kept us busy. Thomas continued his research, gathering data, trying to understand what had happened. Yuki maintained the aircraft, kept them flight ready in case we needed to go anywhere. And I tried to make sense of the science, looking for any explanation that fit the facts. But we weren't making progress. We had data, hours of security footage, terabytes of information, but no answers. No explanation for what could affect 7 billion people simultaneously. No understanding of where they'd gone or what had happened to them. Just the fact of their absence and that strange signal broadcasting from empty cities. Patricia called a meeting that evening. We gathered in the command center and she pulled up star charts, orbital diagrams, trajectory calculations. I've been working on something, she said. A theory. We know whatever happened was Earth-specific. We know we were unaffected because we were off-world. So what if the answer isn't here? What if we need to go back out there, get some distance, get some perspective, see if we can observe something from space that we're missing from the surface? Devon leaned forward, studying the charts. You want to go back to orbit? Patricia shook her head. Further. I want to go to the edge of the solar system, set up observation equipment, study Earth from a distance, look for any anomalies, any phenomenon that might explain this. Maybe from far enough away, we'll see something we're missing from down here. Thomas was already nodding. Makes sense. Whatever this is, it's big, global, maybe cosmic. Maybe we need cosmic perspective to understand it. Yuki asked the practical question. What ship? What supplies? How long are we talking? Patricia had already worked it out. There's a deep space vessel at Kennedy. The Venture, designed for extended missions. Crew capacity for 8, so we'll have room to spread out. Supplies for 2 years at full rations, longer if we're careful. We'd be looking at a year to reach our observation point, a year there conducting research, and a year to return. 3 years total. Dr. Okafor's face showed concern. 3 years in space, just the 6 of us. That's a significant psychological challenge. Patricia nodded. It is, but what's the alternative? Stay here? Watch everything slowly break down? We've searched for survivors. We haven't found any. We've tried to understand what happened. We can't. If we're going to find answers, they're not here. They're out there. I spoke up. I'm in. Whatever happened to Rachel and the kids, to everyone, they deserve to have someone looking for answers. If there's even a chance we can understand this from space, we have to try. One by one, the others agreed. Devon, Thomas, Yuki, Dr. Okafor, all of us committed to going back out, to leaving Earth behind again, to searching for answers in the dark. Then we start preparing, Patricia said. We've got 8 months to get ready. We need to get the Venture flight ready, load supplies, transfer Thomas's archives, prepare for a 3-year mission. If anyone has second thoughts, speak now. Nobody did. What else did we have? What else were we going to do? 7 billion people had disappeared. We were the only ones left to search for them. The only ones who could. We spent the next 8 months preparing, made multiple trips to Kennedy Space Center, checked out the Venture, ran diagnostics. The ship was magnificent, larger than anything I'd been on before. Designed for deep space exploration, nuclear electric propulsion, artificial gravity through rotation, proper living quarters instead of tiny pods. We'd be comfortable at least. Devon worked on the ship's systems, making sure everything was operational. Yuki ran flight simulations, planned our trajectory. Thomas prepared his data archives, everything he'd collected about the event. Patricia handled logistics, supplies, mission planning. Dr. Okafor prepared medical supplies and started us on psychological prep for long-term isolation. I went back to Pasadena one more time, May 10th. I walked through Rachel's house slowly, saying goodbye. To the photos on the walls, to Emma's drawings, to Noah's toys, to 3 months of memories compressed into one afternoon. I left Chompy on Noah's bed, put the family photo back on Rachel's dresser, said goodbye to my sister and her family, and the life I'd never get back. Then I walked out and drove away, and didn't look back. August 14th, launch day. We stood at Kennedy Space Center, the 6 of us, looking up at the Venture. It rose above us, white and silver and ready. Behind us, the vehicle assembly building stood empty. The launch control center was automated now. We'd run all the checks ourselves, no ground crew, no mission controllers, no one to wish us luck or tell us to be careful. Just 6 people preparing to leave Earth, maybe for the last time. Last chance to change your minds, Patricia said. She was giving us an out, one final opportunity to back out. Nobody took it. All right then, let's go find out what happened to everyone. We boarded at 3 p.m, climbed the access tower, entered the ship, sealed the hatch behind us, ran through pre-flight checks systematically, every system green, every backup operational. Yuki settled into the pilot's seat. Patricia took the commander's position beside her. The rest of us strapped into the acceleration couches behind them. At 6 p.m, as the sun began to set over the Atlantic, the engines ignited. The ship shook. G-forces pressed us into our seats. We climbed, through the atmosphere, through the clouds, into the darkening sky above. I watched through the window as the Earth fell away. The Florida coast, the ocean catching the last light of day, the curve of the planet becoming visible, the thin blue line of atmosphere. The last time I'd seen Earth from space, 7 billion people had been down there. Now there were none, just empty cities and that signal broadcasting into the void. We were leaving them behind, all of them. Rachel and Emma, and Noah and Michael. Patricia's colleagues at NASA, Yuki's parents, Devon's family, Thomas's girlfriend, Dr. Okafor's brother. 7 billion people we'd known and loved and lost. But we were going to find out what happened to them. We were going to understand. Or we were going to die trying. Because someone had to. Someone had to keep looking. Someone had to refuse to accept that humanity had just ended one September morning for no reason. We reached orbit an hour later. Yuki executed the trajectory burns flawlessly. We were on course, away from Earth, towards the outer solar system, toward whatever answers might exist in the dark. That first night, I floated in my quarters and looked at Rachel's photo. I brought it after all, couldn't leave it behind. The 4 of them on the beach, happy, alive. I thought about that half-written text message. Hey Mum, heading to the store. Need anything? 2 minutes later, she was gone. Just gone. And I was here, still alive, still searching, still hoping that somewhere, somehow there was an explanation that made sense. The signal from Earth followed us for 9 days. We could pick it up on our communications array, that rhythmic pulse, that heartbeat. Thomas monitored it obsessively despite Patricia's orders to limit exposure. On the 10th day, it faded. Distance had finally broken the connection. The last thread to Earth, gone silent. After that, there was only us, 6 people in a ship, heading into darkness, chasing ghosts. I'm recording this now. June 2nd. We're 9 months into our journey, past Mars, past the asteroid belt, entering the outer solar system. Earth is a tiny blue dot behind us. barely visible, even with telescopes. Patricia says we'll reach our observation position in 3 months. From there, we'll study Earth from a distance no human has ever observed it from. We'll look for anomalies, for signs of what happened, for any clue that might explain where 7 billion people went. But I'm not sure we'll find anything. I think whatever happened is beyond our ability to understand. I think 7 billion people heard something we didn't hear, saw something we didn't see, went somewhere we can't follow. And I think we're going to spend the rest of our lives searching for an answer that doesn't exist in any form we can recognize. But we're searching anyway, because what else can we do? Because they deserve to be searched for. Because the alternative is accepting that the world ended and we weren't there to see it. Rachel is gone. Emma and Noah are gone. 7 billion people are gone. And we're still here, still alive, still carrying their photos and their memories and the weight of being the ones who survived. We'll keep flying deeper into the dark. Keep hoping that distance will bring clarity. Keep believing that somewhere in the mathematics of orbital mechanics and the patterns of electromagnetic radiation, there's an explanation. There has to be, because the alternative is too terrible to accept, that they're just gone, that there's no reason, that we're alone. 6 voices in the void, still calling out, still hoping for an answer, still searching for the world we lost. The lights are still burning on Earth. The power is still flowing. The systems are still running. But nobody's home. Nobody's been home for 9 months. And maybe nobody will ever be home again. But we're still looking. We'll always be looking. Until we find them. Or until we can't search anymore. That's our promise. To Rachel and Emma and Noah. To all of them. To 7 billion people who disappeared one September morning. We won't stop looking. We won't give up. We won't accept that they're just gone. Somewhere out there has to be an answer. Somewhere in the dark, there has to be a reason. And we're going to find it. Or die trying. Because we're all that's left. 6 people who survived the end of the world by not being there when it ended. 6 people carrying the memory of everyone who came before. 6 people who refused to let humanity's last act be disappearing without explanation. We're 3 months from our observation point. 3 months from beginning our real work. 3 months from maybe, possibly, hopefully understanding. The ship is quiet around me. 5 other people sleeping in their quarters. 5 other people dreaming of the families they lost. 5 other people hoping for answers we might never find. But we're still here, still searching, still hoping. And as long as we're alive, as long as we're looking, there's still a chance to understand, a chance to find them, a chance to bring them home, even if bringing them home is impossible, even if they're gone forever, even if all we ever find is more questions. We're still searching, and we won't stop, not ever. That's my promise to you, Rachel, to you, Emma and Noah. To everyone, we won't forget you. We won't stop looking, and someday, somehow we'll find out where you went. I promise. I promise. The stars stretch out ahead, empty, infinite, beautiful. And somewhere in that infinity, there has to be an answer. There has to be. Because the alternative is too empty to bear. So we fly on, into the dark, into the unknown, into whatever comes next. 6 voices calling out to 7 billion ghosts, still hoping they can hear us, still hoping they're waiting, still hoping this isn't the end. Just the search, the long, lonely, desperate search for the world we lost.